It is a tremendous honor to be showing my work in this museum on this continent. It's really, for me, quite profound to be able to attempt to contribute to sort of like a contemporary art conversation here. And I think the thing that my work does that is even a bit odd in its own context is that even though I'm a filmmaker, it kind of works against representation. It kind of assumes that we exist as Black people in the world, and we know what we look like. So what do we want to think about, and what do we want to do?
It has been an interesting year-long journey that has brought us to this moment with Cauleen Smith. She is a Los Angeles-based artist whom we were introduced to by our late director, Koya Koyo. Koya spoke very highly of Cauleen's practice and wanted us to introduce it to our context here in South Africa and on the continent for the first time.
Hollywood still to this day sort of like uses Black culture and exports Black culture as a kind of currency, but doesn't actually respect or cultivate it in any generative way. And so the things about us that get exported to the world are really not the way that we understand ourselves or think of ourselves or live. They are these sort of commercial exports or products and not actual stories.
I like to think of Black Utopia, well, in my research, working and thinking through Cauleen's vast decades-long practice that has always been concerned with this idea of the utopic in the everyday. I became quite fixated with an idea around radical generosity and radical hospitality, which Cauleen herself has cited. It's an idea that I think lives in proximity to the notion of building a world in which you can imagine yourself to be liberated and to be free. And I think once you put Black in front of Utopia, you start to understand the need for that kind of powerful reimagining of a possible future.
It started as a kind of response to people who, particularly in the art world, are very cynical about utopias. And there's a moment where people were saying they don't exist, it's not possible, why are we in this pretend space? But in reality, the more I learned, the more deep dives you do in the history, the more instances you can find where something like Utopia did happen, even if it was momentary.
A stream of water ran north and south upon the east side of the house. And I thought the storm would dash the house into the water and it would carry us down to New York. And then our friends would see our good home.
I think for local audiences, I think there's such a beautiful confluence between Cauleen's inquiry into the LA rebellion, which happened in 1965, and some of our own histories of resistance within this part of the world that I think there's a really beautiful connection there that can be made between some of like the connections that are teased out also aesthetically from Los Angeles to like Cape Town. So I think there's a lot of beautiful references that South Africans will be able to pick up from within her work.
Sometimes I find myself saying I'm not an activist, and I'm not, and I don't think that art and politics are actually always fused. I do think art is always political, but just because your work is engaging with the world, like, I don't know if that can be really confused with what it means to actually do the work of changing the world. What artists do, what we can do, is we can do the work of encountering individuals and relations with people and shifting their consciousness. And that has to happen before you can do the work of changing the world.
Yeah, I think as an American living in South Africa, it's really exciting to see her work in this specific context. I mean, I didn't have any prior experience in South Africa before this fellowship. And so I feel like I'm also going along this journey with her in kind of bringing this history that I grew up actually in reference to, because I grew up in the East Coast of the United States. And so having that, seeing her come here with that context as well that I relate to a little bit more than I do like the South African context, because she's also bringing in West African references and things. And so in films like I Want to See My Skirt, that's something that I also feel very inspired by, because she also is having poetry in there that is translated to French, and that's also like a language that my family speaks as well. And so I think those references that she pulls and then is bringing into this context is really exciting to see, and I want people to also be excited to relate to that in the same way that maybe I'll relate to it. And also I think as an American living here, I've really noticed that like South Africans love jazz, and so she has so many jazz references throughout the films, and I think that's something that's exciting for me at least.
There's nothing that generous about saying afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. It's actually a really snarky, sarcastic thing to say, even and it's a challenge. It's a proposal. It's like a taunt for all of us, you know, in terms of thinking about, well, who is the afflicted and who is the comfortable at any given moment. That could really shift, and to think about how fragile these relationships really are, I guess, is something I think about more now, yeah.
If you don't get a chance to read every single wall text or read every single reference, I hope that you at least walk away with some kind of comfort that there's a piece of you in this space by virtue of the way that you interact with the land, the way that you dance. I hope the colors in this space are vibrant and they remind you to dance. And that there's just a hope that you feel after you walk away from the space, because the last work in the exhibition, the obsidian rock mirror, it comes back to Cauleen's practice of using the earth, using geology, and it's a reflective piece. So you look at yourself at the end of the exhibition, and hopefully by the time you reach the end of the show, you will have thought about all that you've traversed, all that you've come through, the way that your community has shown up for you, the way that you've shown up for your community, and how all those pieces together really just help us in imagining this Black utopia that Cauleen's work pushes us to dream and think and feel and reflect on.
And there's something about our exhibition program that I think begins to hint at the kind of ideas around comfort, resilience, transformation, justice, that has played itself out in our programming this year in a really beautiful way. You only need to look at the poetics of all the titles of our shows, from Spring is Rebellious, The Life and Work of Albie Sachs, A Protea is Not a Flower, We Walk in the Footsteps of the Sunlight by Zora Opoku, and now finally with Cauleen Smith's Afflict the Comfortable, Comfort the Afflicted.